Center. Listen, we are truly excited to be with you all on this evening. And as you are chiming in, make sure you like and share and let everybody know that we are here. And not just myself, but I have some amazing, some wonderful special guests. And this month is February, and you all know that we always celebrate love in the month of February. So tonight's conversation is going to be all about love, right? All about love. I love love, and it's all about talking about staying together and how we keep the spark going and all that good stuff. So make sure you let everybody know that we're here and that we are all going to talk about love tonight. And listen, it's not just for married couples, singles. If you are desiring to be married, we're going to give you a sneak peek into what you need to do to either prepare yourself or just to give you some great ideas as you are waiting for your husband or your wife. We are just grateful again to God for allowing us to see another beautiful day here in the month of February. Bishop, we were talking earlier, and he was like, the sun is out. I know you're happy. And I'm like, yes, the sun is out, and I am happy. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce my guests on this evening as we get into Table Talk Tuesday, and our topic is I Still Choose You. And I'm going to give you guys a funny story behind when I read that. It reminded me of a conversation I had with Bishop, and he just looked at me like I was, but anywho, it's all good. So tonight, it gives me great honor and privilege to introduce my special guests. My left, your right, we have Rick and Chrissy Green. Yay! Let's everybody clap them up, clap them up, clap them up. Hello. And then the center, we have Marvin and Melissa. Yay! Clap them up, clap them up. You guys that are watching in, make sure you just clap, clap, clap in the comments. And then to my right, we have Dana and Kim. Yay! Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. So great evening, everyone, and thank you guys so much for making your way here and having a great time of discussion. I think it's going to be a great time. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just for married persons, but people who are single and they are desiring to be married. Can we just give them upfront information? This is kind of stuff you're going to need to know. Okay? And so we're going to jump right in, but let me just share this with you very, very quickly. Again, when I saw that I Still Choose You, I remember this was, several years ago, Bishop and I was having like one of those conversations. Can you all agree, understand what I'm talking about, right? The talk. And I was sharing with him how much I love him. I love him, right? But then I said to him, but you know what? I actually still like you. And he looked at me like, huh? I said, no, think about it. There are a lot of people who have been married for 10 years, 5 years, 25 years, and sometimes they don't even like each other. They just kind of go through the motion. But I said to him, I really, really, really like you, So I'm like, you better be glad I'm your wife. I'd probably be harassing you if you were single and whatever. But anywho, I said, I still like you. So tonight, let's just jump right on in. And one of the things that we often talk about in relationship, especially as it relates to marriage, is what? The conversation, right? The communication piece. And listen, I know that we all can attest that is top of the list. Maybe not number one. We already know God's number one, but top of the list as it relates to having and maintaining a healthy, prosperous, living relationship. So the Greens, I want to toss to you guys first. Let's talk about why it's so important, and if you might even want to share an example of why communication in the relationship is so important. And sometimes communication is not always talking. Jump into that.
With us, sometimes I think we can read each other's minds, because all we got to do is we see something and we don't even have to talk. We just look and we'll just stop busting out laughing.
The look.
Yeah. As far as communication goes, we pretty much communicate about everything. Mm-hmm. Even, I tell Chrissy on every Sunday, how much you want to give for offering.
Right.
Whatever God lays on your heart.
See?
And she'll text me and I'll be in the back and I'll be like, whatever's on your heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're hearing, and if she says she's not hearing, I'll be like, okay, we'll give this much. So we talk about everything from bills, children, work, the house, you name it. We communicate about everything.
That's good.
That's really important.
Yeah.
And we laugh a lot. Like, we genuinely love to talk to each other, and we still enjoy each other's company. I say that all the time. I said, like you said, First Lady, I'm like, I love you. I said, but I really do still, I like you. I like spending time with you. Like, I don't feel like, oh boy, here he comes.
Here we go.
Like, I don't feel like that. It's a joy. I'm excited still to see you. So that's a good thing to me as we're moving forward, down the line. It's great to still say that we're growing, but it's getting better and better. I don't feel like we're definitely moving forward in the right direction. So.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, Chestnuts, you guys jump on in and let's put like a little twist. What happens when we don't have that conversation? What happens when we don't have that one-on-one and you kind of let things go up under the rug and you kind of see that rug building because there's more stuff piling? What happens in that situation?
Well, if you don't have communications, you're not going to have anything.
Correct.
So the best part I like about us is that we try to talk it out. Now, everybody have issues, and we may go into another room and just like think about it. But come back and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
And I like the communication because our relationship and marriage was built on communication and communication only for like 60 days.
Wow.
Yes. So I was out of town working, and all we did was talk on the phone for like 5-6 hours a day, and that's all we had.
Wow. So you built that foundation from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
Kim, you want to chime in and join in that?
So with, as my husband said, communication is key. It's like the foundation or the fundamental thing of being married. I think, Lady Faye, when you talk about brushing things under the rug, people don't want to face difficult situations or conversations in marriage. And I think because they don't have that fundamental piece of communication. When you brush stuff under the rug, it festers. And like literally you'll just burst later on in life and say, we should have just talked about. The divorce rate will be down lower if people would just really have that initial conversation about what they're feeling or what they're feeling about each other.
Absolutely. Did you want to add to that? Okay, Melissa and Marvin, let me ask you this question as it relates to communication. Where should the communication start in a relationship? Should that start in the courtship or after you say I do?
I think it should start in the courtship. I know, like, when I met my wife, oh my God, she used to have me on the phone hours and hours at night. And at that time, I think I was working at the printing company. And I was working like 4 to 4.
Wow.
And half the time I was up on the phone. So I think it needs to start at the beginning. It's very important to start at the beginning.
I would agree. I think what attracted me to my husband, I met him at church, and we actually, I knew him, and we were passing, but one of my sisters in ministry had a graduation party, and we went to the party, and we had a conversation, and I was like, oh, I like talking to him. And I was like, okay, he's pretty smart. I thought he was pretty smart. So out of that grew communication, us talking, and I realized that I liked him, and I like to talk with him, and I still do to this day. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So let me ask you this. How can we explain to our viewing audience and to, again, persons who are married who may be struggling in this area, how can they be intentional with their conversation, with their communication? Because oftentimes I think people have a challenge with just how do I communicate with you? Or does it really depend on the personality of our spouse? Does it really depend on, how they function and how they operate? So how can we be intentional? I said this earlier, sometimes communication means not saying anything at that point, So how can we, talk to our audience and say, listen, here are some practical ways to be intentional with how you communicate?
One of the things I think is you can't run from it. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned. Or most people know that Chrissy is my second marriage, but that's something I learned from my first marriage. Is that it's just not going to go away, and it's going to build up to the point where it just explodes, and then that's where the divorce rates come in at. So I think you can't run from it. I do think that you're going to have to find different ways of communicating, whether it's, just through a card, just, I love you card or something. Look, I'm sorry. We need to talk about this. And, but I also think that you shouldn't talk with hotheads.
Yeah.
When things cool down, Chrissy and I, like she said, we laugh a lot, but we have our moments where it's like, I can't stand you right now. we don't yell at each other, and we'll cool down. Like, she was on the phone fussing at me about something one day, and she was just like, "What do you want for dinner?"
He took the words out of my mouth. I was like, we will be in the middle of something, and I may say, "Oh, whatever," and then I'm like, "You want some Chick-fil-A?" It's just,
Yeah.
we try not to take it. I mean, it is serious, but make light of it. Not everything has to be so serious.
Yeah.
We have a habit of, when we both get home, we always kind of sit across the table and we're just kind of talking about your day, or maybe texting each other throughout the day. Hey, I'm checking on you. How you doing? I was feeling you. Are you okay? And he'll say, "Oh, you must have knew. I was just about to give it to somebody and you called me."
All the time.
That is a great example that you just gave about sitting across from each other at the table and just having that time of just kind of decompressing, and you're having that, how was your day? What happened in your day, and what? And I learned this with Liv in school. I used to say, "Well, how was school?" And always the question was, "Fine," So then I read somewhere they said, "Did anything interesting happen?" And then it opened up the conversation. "Oh, yeah, mommy." So it's like the same thing in relationships. If we do the same thing, well, what happened? How was your day? It was fine. But if we throw in those key words, like intentionally putting in those key words, like, did anything special, anything exciting, anything boring, then it kind of opens up the conversation, right? So what else can we do intentionally that can put us in a position of communicating? You mentioned the card. That's great. We need to talk. I love you, but we need to talk.
The timing is important.
Yeah.
With communication, a lot of people, I think we look at that word as being like this starch word to say, "Oh my goodness, we need to have the talk."
Yeah.
Most men and most women, when somebody comes in the door, you don't want to say, "I need to talk to you," because then the defense mechanism kind of kick in and people are like shutting down.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't have anything to say. Or they may say, or like my husband, "Okay, what do you want? What do you want? I'm doing this, I'm doing that."
Yeah.
So make communication, I think, as the Green say, something fun. Maybe go out to dinner and say, you know what, dude, I just, had some things on my mind that I just wanted to talk to you about. Just make light of it. I think we just take that word and makes it such a word that so many people kind of like don't embrace it, because we don't really know how to be intentional about having communication.
You just said something that made me think about how it's important to even understand each other's rhythm. I mean, that is like almost it's like vital as it relates to relationship, because as women, we want to tell me what happened. Tell me. Men, you guys communicate so uniquely. It may be a week from now. Last week, we're like, last week? 2 months ago. 2 months ago, remember? I'm like, yeah, but why didn't you? So I think it's so important, that we understand the rhythm of our spouses, because, you guys could probably attest to the same thing. You can just see the facial expression, the body language. Listen, I know when I should and should not have the talk or a conversation or present some information to my husband. I just got to wait it out, And it's not because I don't know. It's because I'm showing respect. I respect that this is the space that you're in right now. And I'm going to give you a minute, but we still got to have this conversation about whatever it is, A, B, C, or D. So let's talk about understanding the rhythm of our spouse. What does that look like? What does that say to you? What does that say to you? Melissa, what do you think?
I think that's something I had to learn because most people don't think this about me, but I'm very confrontational. If I have an issue, I like to address things. But Marvin's style is different, so I had to learn that. So I think it's about learning his style, learning my style, and trying to come into a minute. He may need a moment to think about stuff, and you got to come back. So, and I have learned that not only in marriage, but in relationships in general. Sometimes to pick my battles, if what's important, what's not important, and also timing, like Kim said, just wait. Sometimes I gotta hold it and come back to it, and that's the type of person he is. So, timing, and not to be so confrontational. Just hold it, and it might pass over. It may not be as important as I think it is at that particular time. So.
That's good, because rhythm does involve timing.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you want to add to that as well?
No, I think I summed it up, and I think a lot of times it is different for men than it is for women, because a lot of times, like if my wife would come to me with an issue, like I take my time and think it over, and then I want to address it. But sometimes, she learned it. We learned each other, because some issues I know I got to deal with right then and there. And then some I like to think, take my time, and then come back, because I'm going to look at it from every angle before I even deal with it.
Come on, you jump in there. I know something sparked in your mind as he said that.
I actually love it because that's how I think. And my wife be like, why you don't want to do? Listen, I got time to deal with that. I'll deal with that a little bit later. My wife will tell you that I go through 10 different routes to deal with something. And she only want we got to do this. No, we don't have to do that. We have avenue A, B, C, D, and E.
That's it. Yeah.
And then we'll talk about this. So definitely timing and feeling and understanding and knowing your partner.
Yes.
And knowing when they walk in, oh, she's tired today. Let her get a break. Let her unwind. Get undressed. Do what she got to do. Get comfortable. Then we can talk about my day.
Yes.
And she does me the same way. Like some days, just the other day I came in it was raining, working. Like, babes, I just don't want to hear it right now. Right. Just let me be. And she just left me be for 3-4 hours before she even said anything to me. I'm like, are you gonna say anything to me? It's been long enough.
Right.
But the timing of it and knowing the expression on your partner's face and saying okay, they not for it right now.
And you know what? Men process things differently. So when you present something, I know when I present something to Chestnut as my husband, he goes into how can I fix it mode.
Yes.
That's when, and for me, I'm like, let's go through the process. I want to tell you about it, tell you some details about it, tell you how some recommendations and strategies. That's not what men are they're built to really, how can I fix it? So it's like, tell them to everybody, just tell them what you need. You don't even have to tell them your strategies. They're going to come up with the ways that we can improve our communication on these things in the marriage.
That's true. I appreciate that, and that is so true. Man, they let me just fix it. I don't want to talk about it. Did you want to chime in on that, or did the fellas kind of cover it?
No, they covered it.
They covered it.
They
Very
covered
good.
it.
Very good. When I thought about that, the whole timing and the rhythm, it's really true, because sometimes we do want to jump in and have that conversation, but when you really learn and know your spouse and know, how they operate, how they function, then it's just, now I'm gonna be honest with you, sometime early on in my marriage with Bishop, I knew what buttons to push, and I'd be like, I know I'm off, but I'm gonna go ahead and just push it. And then I want to see, let me see what happens, And I had to learn with maturity and growth that, listen, it's sometimes you need to pull away and just wait. Let him tell you when he's ready, and then you go for it and have that conversation about whatever it is. And I try to explain that and try to encourage even other young women who are newly married, he don't want to talk to me. It's really okay. It's okay. Give him a minute, learn his rhythm, and then you have that conversation because it always comes back up, right?
I think we do a pretty good job on not pushing each other's buttons. We know the limits and yeah.
Sometimes you learn it intentionally, and sometimes you learn it by accident.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to learn it. She keeps talking about this alter ego, Michelle, which I've never met and I do not want to meet. But
Don't wanna
She
meet.
does not
No.
know the Lord. She is not kind. No, but
All
what you
that
said
is
is
good stuff. That's good stuff. So we're talking about I still choose you as it relates to our spouse, our husbands, our wives. And with all of that, the conversation and the communication and being intentional and learning each other's rhythm, how important is it that we take care of ourselves even in the midst of being in the relationship? How important is it for us to have like a day where it's like, honestly, like a few days ago, I was like, this is a fade day. I need to have my favorite snack. I need to take a minute and watch something on Netflix or whatever. I need to have a fade day, and then I can deal with everything else. So how important is that as it relates to being in relationship, in covenant relationship?
I think it's important. I think you need that space, that time to yourself. Like I'm happy with him, but I don't need him to make me happy.
Yes.
That I'm gonna be a happy person all by myself. So I need that time, that space, to do things that I like to do, to have friends that I spend time with. And he allows me to be Melissa, who, and do whatever it is Melissa want to do. So I think you need that to be a healthy, happy individual.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You want to chime in?
Yeah, I know I need my day because, like, you work hard. Us men, we work hard
Yes.
during the course of the week. So we need a day to unwind because if you don't unwind and take a day for yourself, the issues that you deal with every day as an individual
Yeah.
becomes your spouse's problems. And you don't want to unload all that on your spouse at one time, even though y'all may conversate during the week, but it's still things that you hold on to, like, she don't need to know that, like, because she going to be a worry ward. And I don't want that. So I take my day and be like, well, I'm going out. You can go ahead. And me, I like retail therapy.
Retail
And
therapy.
communicate that.
Yes.
When you need that self-care, that moment to yourself, talk that over with your husband. Or, you don't want a spouse to think like, okay, is she rejecting me?
Yes.
Is my spouse rejecting me? Is they don't want to be with me? Just letting the person know, I need Saturday, like my husband say, retail therapy. I just need to be with myself or my girlfriends just to kind of go out. But just make sure that you're communicating that necessity to your spouse. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so important. Is
Well-
to make sure.
with me, she won't let me sit around the house the way I want to sit around the house. But so I'll put some pajama pants on and I'll put some pajama pants on and a t-shirt, and I'll sit out on the couch and watch TV. Where sometimes I think her wanting time to herself is cleaning. I'll be like, babe, don't nobody go in that room. Why you cleaning it? But
it helps me. Like
I think that's
That's what
just
I
her
like to do.
time that she likes, and the house smells good, it's clean.
Yes.
I'm all like, come sit down, watch TV with me. I gotta clean, okay. So, but I just think we just have different ways of enjoying our time, because I can sit down and watch Netflix and stream movies all day long and just be happy.
Yeah.
Not answering this phone because my phone goes crazy all day, every day. So on the weekends, I enjoy not hearing my phone ring. Ting, bing. It's just, so,
Yeah.
my phone starts ringing at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. So,
that is very true.
yeah.
very
So, I enjoy that moment.
And like for me, it's kind of weird. I would tell him I'm so used to doing things all the time, it's hard for me to kind of unwind sometimes. But I'm probably strange in the fact that I love to window shop. Like I could just go for hours and hours and go to stores and I don't even have to buy anything. But I just like to look and take my time. And he's like, "What are you doing?" But I'll be here when you get back. Just do what you got to do, you know. I love to do that. That's just something simple, but it makes a difference. Then when you come back together, you're like refreshed and
Yes.
you've had your time, and it's like, okay, you know, all right, what are we gonna do? You know, and it just helps. It's a good thing. You have to still be your own person. And when you were talking earlier first, it made me remember when I first met him. That was one of the things I loved about him because I was so used to being by myself and just doing everything, and I'm going for everybody. And he would make me kind of slow down and like, take a minute, smell the roses. It's okay. And I'm like, you're right. I deserve that. I can do that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, I have to be careful too because I have always been very, very, very independent. My father drilled that into me growing up. So it was a challenge for me when I first got married was to allow myself to be, allow my husband to include. I was used to like just going and doing and just doing faye, you know? So I had to learn it's okay to incorporate him. And then once, you know, time is moving and you need to take that break, then pulling back and having that moment for ourselves. And as someone mentioned that it's healthy and it makes you recharge. And so when you do come back together again, it's like fresh. It's like ready to keep it moving and all that good stuff. And so that's almost like another really, really important part in their whole relationship is taking care of ourselves too. It's making sure that we are looking at ourselves like I'm just as important as this whole unit. So in order for this unit to be healthy and to be happy and whole, I have to be healthy, happy, and whole. And I think sometimes I've heard situations where that spouse is like, you know, I want you to always be with me, stay with me. And sometimes you have to tap into like, okay, what's behind that? You know, that might need some counseling there. But for the whole, it's like it's really okay to have a moment where it's just you, because as you mentioned, you come back together, you're refreshed and you're ready to just keep it moving, right? Keep it moving. Mm-hmm.
And another thing, having time for yourself, but also making time for each other too.
Yes.
You know, I think sometimes we forget to date one another.
Yes.
We lose, you know, you kind of get just caught up in like the everyday, day-to-day life, things that we're going through that you kind of forget to set aside time to just kind of spend with each other.
Yes.
So not, you know, being by yourself, that's vital, but also spending time with each other. My husband and I, we like to just plan a date night. So sometimes you have to literally plan it on the calendar because if you don't, you'll be just staying in the house all the time and it becomes routine and kind of mundane. So I always encourage individuals to always kind of incorporate that date night as spouse, as husband and wife.
That's good, because that was actually on my list about date night, and we can go right on into that and making it intentional as well. And that's a great idea. Put it on the calendar. We do everything else with our calendar, doctor's appointments, you know, whatever going on. We put everything on our calendar. Okay, date night. This is our date night. And so let's talk about that. How important is that? And what does that look like? Does it have to be always the movie and the dinner? Or can it just be going to the park? Can it be just having a ride down a country road? Like, what does date night look like? And how, you know, does it have to be the same thing all the time?
Well, in my household, date night can be a multitude. Because what I've learned throughout marriage is that you have to constantly reinvent yourself.
Yes.
So date night can be, okay, we're going to take the night, we go out, grab something to eat. Let's go riding. Let's just ride up to Pennsylvania and ride back.
Yes.
Let's ride here. You know, let's explore things together and see what we like and just talk. Just have that general conversation. Don't have to be about nothing important, nothing going on in the marriage. Just like, hey, you see that? Look at that. Look at this sweater. I really like that. Like, you like that? Okay.
Look at the trees.
Yeah, look at the trees, look at the houses, you know. And one of my favorite things is going to look at houses in neighborhoods that gives me ambition and drive.
Yes.
Like, I just want to go to Potomac, Maryland, and like Clarksburg. I want to look at all the major houses because I have a vision that one day I'm gonna be in one of them houses.
Absolutely.
So date night, picnics,
Yeah.
go to events. So date night can include a multitude of things.
Yeah, yeah. And then when you learn each other's space and rhythm, then you know with that compromise what a date night can look like. It doesn't have to always be the same. All the men's hands went up when that happened. So I'm gonna go to you, Marvin, and then Rick. You can jump in next.
And I think sometimes it's good to be creative. Like, it's good to set date nights, but sometimes just surprise.
Like spontaneous.
Yeah,
Like,
like, babe, we got reservations. We going X, Y, Z.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes a difference because you know, your spouse be like, wow, he took
Yeah.
the time to figure out and do this and do that and do that and make it work. So being spontaneous is very important.
And I always like that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, she always like that.
I always like it.
Yes.
Our date night set for every Friday night.
Nice.
And it don't matter where we go. It's a date night. And we was in Shoppers
laughing
last
last
Friday.
Friday.
We had date night in Shoppers last Friday night.
Yep.
Well,
Date night
That
is
is good.
You know, they were talking about the icy conditions over the weekend. So it's like, we're just going to go to the store. We're going to grab some stuff. And then we just going to chill. Yeah, we just make it the best of it. And even on, like, if I had a rough day on a Friday, I might not want to go out that Friday. She'll pick up something on the way home, and we'll have date night at home.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, every Friday night's date night for us. No matter what we doing, it's automatically date night.
Good.
And just like he said too, we like to go around to different neighborhoods, and we love IKEA, and we love just little things, but it works for us, you know. And I would tell people sometimes, you know, I think people get too caught up in what they think marriage is supposed to be like, or I have to do this and he has to do this, and I'm like, no, it's what works for you.
Yes.
What works for you two, because what works for you all, it could destroy us, but what works for, you know, it's all in what you make it to be. So it doesn't have to be what the world says, the roles and all this different crazy stuff. It's all in what you make it. So.
Okay, so we have been walking through tulips all night. And we've been talking good about communicating. And we've been talking good about date night. And we've been talking good about rhythms and knowing each other's timings. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty. We got a few moments left. What happens when all of that is not working, right? What happens when you have been trying to have that conversation, when you've been trying to find the right rhythm, when you've been trying to be spontaneous, and it's just not working? What do we do now? It's like, what do we do next? What are we going to do?
I would say God in prayer.
God in prayer.
God in prayer and therapy.
And therapy.
Yes.
Perfect combinations. Yes.
You have to maybe include a third party.
Yes.
And I think a lot of, different cultures don't believe in therapy sometimes because, sometimes we look at therapy as a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But it really is a sign to have that third party to kind of come in and really help you to see some of the things that you can't see from just talking to one another.
Absolutely.
So I always say I agree God prayer, but that third step has to maybe just incorporate a third party. And I'm not talking about your girlfriends or your homegirls.
Yes.
We're talking about somebody who is a psychologist or somebody who is licensed
Social worker.
to do that, a social worker or a therapist, but somebody that's licensed, because you have to be careful. I'm really getting a lot of what am I trying to say? Getting a lot of advice
Yes.
from different people, because everybody is licensed when you are going through. They think that they have the best advice for you, but you just have to make sure that you go to the right source when you're dealing with certain situations. And always is not your parents either. I'm sorry about that. I love you, Mom. But it's not always your parents are the people, maybe the right source for you to go, to. Because one thing I love about parents, when you are finished and done and have passed through or passed by that particular situation, they're still holding on to that thing
Absolutely.
that actually happened between you and your husband.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I believe that it should be somebody who don't know either one of you.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
A
Neutral party.
neutral party, right? Because people get what's the word I'm looking for? people already have their feelings on the other party.
Right.
So they're
Too
gonna
familiar.
too familiar. So they're gonna
Yes,
tell
very
you.
familiar.
They're gonna tell you what you. What,
Preconceived, yeah.
yes, exactly.
Exactly. I agree with what you're saying. And Kim, same thing, like you were saying, not always the parents, or just sometimes not even family, because sometimes the family can kill it completely. And I'm thinking this is our thing that we have under God. And if we gonna make it work, we gonna fight for it. We gonna do this the right way, God and prayer, and like you said, therapy. And I feel like you can't mess with that. Definitely.
And you have to do it before somebody gets sick and tired. Because once somebody gets sick and tired and they're done, they done. No therapy is going to help them. It's got to be done before.
Their mind is already made up.
Yeah, their mind is already made up. Yep.
Totally agree. At one time, before I matured to this point, I would just like, that's how you feel? All right. That's how you feel. Bye. And I could walk away and wouldn't think nothing of it. But being married and learning and growing with myself, I learned that sometime, okay, I have to get no third party involved. And to this day, I still call my marriage counselor.
That's good.
You know, to this day.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Like,
Yeah.
she said this, and I'm saying, like, nah, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
Well, you want to give it a try? Like, just give it a try. Okay, I'm going to give it a try because you said so. Because I take your word for it. And then it turns out and everything just works its way out. But you definitely need that third party. And I'm never letting go of my marriage counselor.
Because he was our premarital counselor. So he's like a staple in our marriage. Like we will always have or depend on him for everything. So always speed out, yeah. So I always advise people get premarital counseling because it kind of just help kind of segue into your marriage. And I think it works out best for two couples. Like for us, we have the same marital counselor that we had when we first started 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. You know, that was so good that you said that and you put that out there, speed dial. You know, maybe just for fun, but just like we have our primary physician in our phone, we have all of our contacts for, you know, whatever doctor you need. We need to also make sure that we pull that third party in. And you guys said it right. I'm going to say it like this: never include family, because you mentioned it. You guys get over it, but they're still holding on to it. And I remember very, very early on in our marriage, my mother, she was like, whatever you do, you don't have a conversation, you know, with me, your other family, whatever. So I tested her one time. I was like, Mom, I need to tell you something. And she was like, no, you're not. I was like, wow, she was serious. She was like, no, you're not. You talk to your husband. And I was like, okay, I can't talk to you. She said, whatever you do, don't take it to, you know, friends and girlfriends, especially girlfriends who are not married. You don't talk to them. Take it to someone. And I look at it like this, like you're paying your doctor, your primary physician to take care of your body. You pay a therapist or licensed therapist to take care of your relationship, which is like one of the most important elements in your life, right? Yeah. You know? So I think all of that is so important as we, you know, create foundation, and as we build on the foundation, as we maintain our foundation for, I love to say it like this, for a happy, living, prosperous relationship. Because it's available for all of us to have, you know, everyone that's watching, it's available for all of us to have healthy, prosperous marriage relationships. And I know that there are a lot of times people are going through stuff. Listen, go get some help. You know, if you're having an issue with your heart, you go to your cardiologist. If you have an issue with your toes, you go to a podiatrist. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Go get some help. Go get some help, and don't be ashamed to get some help. I believe it, even if it's not, you know, for marriage, whatever. It's for you and your Jesus, prayer, and your therapist. Get some help. It's so important. So, thank you all so much, you know, for the first night jumping off with Relationship Month and talking about love and all that good stuff. You know, love is always the major thread that runs through it, but you need other factors to create the whole fabric, right? You need other things to create the fabric. So the love is always the common thread, but you need other things to set the foundation. The communication piece, which is, I mean, so important. And I told my husband, he is my best friend, right? I could talk to him, call him, be like, look, I need to tell you something. I got some tea I got to talk to you about, you know? You're like, that's your best friend you can tell all your stuff to. And that is such a good space to be, you know, is to have that relationship, that friendship relationship, which is a great way to create your foundation. And then everything else just builds off of that. And so thank you all again for, we had such a great time of discussion on tonight. Thank you guys so much for sharing some of your personal experiences and just your wisdom. Now, let me ask you this. Rick and Chrissy, how long have you all been married?
6 years.
6 years. Marvin and Melissa.
9 years.
9 years. And Kim and Dana.
12 days makes 6 years.
6 years. Yes. 12 days will make
That
6
is
years.
wonderful. And this year would be 23 years for me. This year, and I tell my husband I still like him after 25 years. We've dated for a year, engaged for a year, married for 23, and I still really like my husband. He is so cute to me. I love my husband. Right? He is like so yummy to me. Really, he is. And so it takes that building that foundation, you know, that having that trust between the two to get to that point, right? Absolutely. So we thank God for that. So listen, you all that have been with us on tonight, we are so grateful to have you, and we hope that everything you heard will help to encourage and to enlighten your relationship that you're in with your marriage. If you are in it for 6 years or 25 years, or look, even if you're in it for a month or 2 months, you need these important nuggets to help create and fortify a solid, healthy, prosperous marriage. And we are just grateful for you all tonight. And so before we leave, make sure you go over to Givelify or PayPal or Cash App. Plant a seed on tonight. I said this several weeks ago. The seed knows what to do, but you got to put it in the ground first. And so we pray that you all were blessed tonight. And we thank God for each and every one of you that took a moment to share, to stay with us and to listen in and to gather all this information. And so until we come back together again, remember, all is well. All is well. Have a great night, and God bless you.